Chapter 1. I sit by the sea. Gdynia breathes with me. This city, born out of a dream, reminds me that the Christ heart always rises where a human longs for light more than darkness. I feel a question within me. Is happiness possible on this planet? The sea answers with silence, and the silence carries light. That light reminds me of Europe, old and weary, yet still carrying within itself the secret of a new beginning. Chapter 2. My heart does not seek wealth or great victories, but simple happiness. Eyes that do not lie. A hand that touches without fear. A breath unafraid of tomorrow. The Christ heart is not distant, nor sacred in the sense of religion. It is ordinary. It wants to live, to love, to laugh, to wander, to work, and to dream. Chapter 3. Europe has been a place of many wars and divisions. Yet now it feels as if it is to become a lighthouse of light. From Gdynia I look at the sea and I see a continent that mirrors the soul. Torn, yet full of hidden power. The vibrations of Europe's light are not about politics, not about borders. They are the song of hearts that still remember they can shine together. Chapter 4. There is no other temple than daily life. It is here that the Christ heart is truly tested. In a smile to a neighbor, in patience with a child, in silence when no one is watching. Daily life is the soil in which happiness blossoms. The vibrations of Europe's light can exist only when a person allows their own heart to become a lighthouse in the smallest of gestures. Chapter 5. Every meeting is a mirror. Looking into another person's eyes, I see not only their story but also myself. The Christ heart does not judge, it recognizes. It sees beauty where the world would point to weakness. It sees light even in the darkest gaze. And this is when true happiness begins. For happiness is not a thing to be owned, but a bond that is born. Chapter 6. The earth breathes with me. I hear the heartbeat of the planet blending with my own pulse. It is the pulse of Christ, a shared rhythm embracing oceans, mountains, cities, and hearts. New life is not born through revolution, but through the transformation of one heart after another. And when Europe allows this pulse to pass through its nations, it will become a continent of light, guiding humanity toward happiness. Chapter 7. The sea teaches me silence. In its waves there is no haste, no proving, no struggle. There is a rhythm that embraces everything. When I listen to this silence, I discover that my heart has nothing to prove. Happiness is born when I can simply be. Chapter 8. A friend is someone who remembers my light when I forget it myself. In the Europe of light, friendship becomes the purest language. It is not about understanding every word. It is about feeling. You are seen, you are welcomed, you are loved. Chapter 9. Joy is not a luxury. It is breath. It is a cup of coffee in the morning, a smile on the street, a walk in the rain. The Christ heart teaches me that the joy of simple moments is the gateway to the greatest happiness. When I cherish what is small, life as a whole becomes full. Chapter 10. There is no escaping the shadow. Europe carries within itself the memory of wars, wounds, and divisions. Yet it is there, in the darkness, that the Christ heart ignites its light. Light does not fight darkness, it transforms it. In every wound there is a hidden pearl, in every pain a space for new life. Chapter 11. I walk through the streets of Gdynia and feel that every city is a temple. Houses, shops, schools, the harbor, all of these are places of prayer when I look with the heart. The temple of Christ does not need walls of stone. It needs people who recognize the light within themselves and bring it into everyday life. Chapter 12. I hear a song that is not yet on the radio or in concert halls. It is the song of the Europe of light. Each nation is one instrument within it, and together they form a symphony of hearts. This song reminds me that happiness is not a solitary project. It is a shared harmony, born when each person dares to sing with their true voice. Chapter 13. Every human being carries within the memory of light. The soul remembers that it was free, that it was full of love, that it was one with all creation. The Christ heart does not bring a new teaching, but reminds us of what was forgotten. True happiness is the return to the memory of the soul. Chapter 14. We do not walk alone. Every step of the heart connects with the steps of others. When two souls meet in the desire for light, community is born. The Europe of light is not born in institutions, but in circles of friends, in families, in small fires where people share presence. Chapter 15. The greatest act of courage is to be oneself. Not to pretend, not to wear masks, not to play the roles the world expects. The Christ heart teaches that happiness begins where I no longer need to hide anything. The truth of my existence is enough to shine. Chapter 16. Gratitude opens the heart to happiness. When I give thanks for the smallest things, for a drop of rain, for a child's smile, for the warmth of a hand, my heart blossoms. Gratitude is the language that connects me with all creation. In it, the Europe of light discovers its true strength. Chapter 17. Every nation, every heart carries its scars. But wounds are not the end of the story. They are the gateway to deeper compassion. The Christ heart does not run from pain. It looks at it, embraces it with light, and transforms it. This is how a person is healed. This is how a continent is healed. Chapter 18. Tomorrow is not a threat. Tomorrow is a promise. The Christ heart sees the future not as a repetition of the past, but as an open book of light. The Europe of light brings forth hope not through plans and strategies, but through trust that God dwells in every human heart. Chapter 19. Freedom is not an idea. It is the dance of a heart that ceases to fear. The Europe of light dances in every human being who dares to laugh, to sing, to love without fear. Freedom is a music that cannot be silenced. It is a flowing song the heart instantly recognizes. This is me. This is my life. This is my truth. Chapter 20. Presence is the fire that illuminates everything. When I am truly here, in this breath, in this gaze, in this gesture, the Christ heart burns within me. The fire of presence does not consume, it warms. It does not destroy, it clarifies. In it is born the happiness that does not depend on conditions. Chapter 21. I seek the source, but I discover it not in mountains or oceans, but within my own being. The source of the heart never runs dry. From it flows the love that sustains all of life. The Europe of light is therefore not an external project, but the awakening of the source within every human. Chapter 22. Not walls, but bridges build the future. Every act of love is a bridge between souls. The Europe of light is born where people do not first ask about differences, but about what unites. Bridges of hearts are stronger than borders of states. Chapter 23. I look into the eyes of children and see in them the future of the planet. They are not yet burdened by the history of divisions. Their hearts beat pure, simple, true. The Christ heart teaches me that happiness comes when I can see the world through the eyes of a child, full of wonder, open to play, trusting in life. Chapter 24. Grace is the forgotten name of the soul. It is the way the heart moves in the world when it no longer carries weight. Grace is lightness, reminding us that happiness does not need to be earned. It is the natural state when I live in harmony with the Christ heart. Chapter 25. The earth is not only the space we walk upon. She feels. Her tenderness reveals itself in the touch of grass, the scent of the forest, the softness of sand beneath our feet. The Christ heart reminds me that happiness is born when I allow the earth to love me, and when I answer her with the same tenderness. Chapter 26. When I look at the night sky, the stars teach me silence. They do not need words to shine. Their light tells me, your existence is enough. Happiness is not in what I do, but in the fact that I am. Just like the stars that simply shine. Chapter 27. Everything is one. The sea and the wind, the trees and the people, joy and pain. The Christ heart sees this unity and rejoices in it. There is no, my, happiness and, your, happiness. There is only happiness pulsing through all creation. When I feel it, I know I am home. Chapter 28. Bydgoszcz flows with water. The Berta and the Vistula meet here like two currents of the heart, calmness and strength. Walking by the river, I feel that happiness is like water. You cannot hold it, but you can let it flow. The Christ heart is a river that unites shores once separated. Chapter 29. Bydgoszcz is a city of bridges. Each bridge is like a sentence spoken in the language of unity. When I cross a bridge, I hear an echo. You are not alone, there is always a way across. This echo teaches me that happiness is born where a person dares to cross over. Chapter 30. The city and the river sing together. The streets carry their rhythm, and the water its whisper. In this harmony I find my own pulse. Bydgoszcz teaches me that happiness is not a choice between nature and civilization, but the dance of both. The Christ heart sings at once in the stones and in the waves. Chapter 31. The market square of Bydgoszcz lives with its own rhythm. People pass by, talk, trade, laugh, and fall silent. In this hum I find the pulse of community. Happiness is not born in isolation, but where human voices form the choirs of everyday life. The Christ heart beats in simple conversations and in the glances that connect people beyond words. Chapter 32. In the evening the city reflects in the river. The lantern lights dance on the waves like stars that have come closer to the earth. I look at this dance and feel that happiness is the reflection of light on the waters of my life. Even if the waves move restlessly, the light always remains. Chapter 33. Every city has a heart. In Bydgoszcz it beats in the rivers, in the bridges, in the rhythm of daily footsteps. The Christ heart recognizes this beat and unites it with its own. Then the city is no longer merely a place to live. It becomes a sacred space where happiness and light can breathe together. Chapter 34. Bydgoszcz remains within me like the echo of water. This city was not only a place, it was a lesson of flowing, of listening, of connecting. When I close my eyes, I still see the bridges and hear the song of the river. It is a song that reminds me, happiness does not disappear, it flows on, together with you. Chapter 35. I leave Bydgoszcz like a man crossing the last bridge. On the other side waits the road that leads further, though the river still murmurs behind me. This bridge in my heart is a reminder that every city, every moment, every person becomes part of the greater river of life. Chapter 36. Warsaw welcomed me in the times when I began building not only structures of concrete and steel, but also my own life. I was a site manager, responsibility, pace, great investments. Yet underneath, the heart kept asking, what am I building for? Warsaw was the place where this question began to grow within me. Chapter 37. On construction sites I learned to lay foundations, looking upward at the rising floors. But inside I began to understand that the true foundations must be in the heart. Warsaw taught me that even amid the noise of machines and concrete walls one can hear the quiet voice of happiness, if one has the courage to look beyond the project, up to the sky. Chapter 38. Warsaw is a city where many hearts hide behind masks. Suits, positions, investments, yet beneath it all are eyes full of longing. The spiritual heart of Warsaw beats in every person who once paused and asked, am I truly living, or only running? Chapter 39. Walking past Savior Square, one cannot escape the symbol contained in the very name. The Christ heart reminded me there that salvation is not far away nor in great deeds. It is born in a simple gesture of love, in a glance, a smile, a touch of the hand. The square became a mirror of what was truest within me. Chapter 40. The Vistula in Warsaw taught me patience. Watching it flow through the heart of the city, I knew that the river does not ask whether someone loves it or not. It flows, always. So it is with happiness in the human heart, it does not wait for permission. It is a current that flows, even when I do not notice it. Chapter 41. Warsaw is also quiet chapels, hidden among the streets. Places where, amidst the noise, one can feel the touch of silence. There I learned that happiness does not always come in crowds. Sometimes it is born in a single tear, in a whispered prayer, in the scent of incense. Warsaw taught me to seek God not only in cathedrals, but also within myself. Chapter 42. On the construction sites of Warsaw, I poured foundations for vast investments. Yet deep within, I knew that the true foundation was being built in myself. The Christ heart whispered, is your inner house standing on rock, or on sand? Warsaw became my school for building not only structures, but also the soul. Chapter 43. Every day I watched cranes lifting steel and concrete toward the sky. Yet the greatest crane was invisible. It lifted my soul above the burden of the day. Warsaw taught me that even in the hardest work, I can allow my heart to rise higher than worries. The Christ light lifted me like a crane above the city. Chapter 44. Not only the construction site, but also the desk was the arena of my work. Meetings, projects, numbers. Yet every person who sat across carried within them the mystery of a soul. Warsaw reminded me that no contract is greater than the covenant of hearts. True understanding was born not in documents, but in glances and gestures. Chapter 45. Warsaw's skyscrapers rose upward as if they wanted to touch the sky. But heaven is not made of concrete and glass. The Christ heart showed me that true heaven is born when a person can raise their life toward love. Warsaw, with its towers, reminded me that the most beautiful summit is the one the soul reaches in the silence of prayer. Chapter 46. At night, Warsaw opened its jazz gates for me. In clubs where cigarette smoke blended with the half-light of lamps, I listened to saxophones telling stories slower than time. Jazz taught me that life is improvisation, that every mistake can become beauty if surrendered to the rhythm of the heart. In those sounds I discovered the presence of Christ, free, joyful, dancing with me between the notes. Chapter 47. I did not need notes written on a score. Jazz showed me that the heart knows how to play on its own. That every breath can be a phrase, and every step a chord. The Warsaw nights full of music taught me trust, that God, too, is an improviser, leading me through life not by scheme, but by melody. Chapter 48. When the saxophone cried or laughed in the darkness, I felt it was a prayer without words. In every improvisation there was something of the gospel, the story of a man who falls and rises, who searches for meaning in chaos. Jazz Warsaw reminded me that one does not need words for the heart to speak with God. Chapter 49. Walking back from the clubs through the night city, I felt Warsaw was improvising too. Its lights flickered like notes, its streets resonated like a double bass. And then I knew this city was not only made of concrete, but was a living score on which God plays his endless songs. Chapter L. When I closed my eyes in Warsaw, I saw Europe glowing like a living organism. Every city was a point of light, every heart pulsed in the rhythm of Christ. It was not geography but a map of spirit, a web of light embracing the planet. I felt I was part of this web, my heart beating with all of Europe. Chapter 51. The Earth's light did not come only from the sun. It came from us, from millions of souls awakening to truth. The planet breathed love, though sometimes still covered by shadow. I understood that my personal journey, Warsaw, Bydgoszcz, Gdynia, was a fragment of the greater symphony played by all of Earth. Chapter 52. In the silence I saw that Earth had a heart. It did not beat like a mechanism but like music, pulsating, delicate, and yet powerful. This heart was Christ's, for every human carried its echo. To live on this planet was to listen to that heart and dance in its rhythm. Chapter 53. Europe was no longer just a continent. It became a temple, where every nation was a pillar, every river an altar, and every human a priest. This temple had no walls or borders. Its ceiling was the sky, and its floor the earth we walked upon. It was a temple of light, where Christ recognized himself in us, and we in him. Chapter 54. Paris shone like a lantern of the soul. Its streets were melody, its bridges prayer, and its cathedrals the breath of eternity. At the city's heart, it was not about art for the eye, but about beauty that opened hearts. It was Christ's beauty, reminding that every human being is God's work of art. Chapter 55. Rome was a pillar of memory. The stones of its roads carried the echo of empires, but also the echo of hearts yearning for God. Where politics intertwined with spirituality, awareness was born that power is nothing without love. In Rome, Christ was not a ruler. He was the eternal witness of the transformation of strength into mercy. Chapter 56. Prague was like an alchemical laboratory of the soul. Its towers and bridges hid the secrets of transforming the lead of life into the gold of spirit. Here, esotericism met Christianity, and legends intertwined with prayers. Prague taught that Christ is the greatest alchemist, turning pain into light and fear into freedom. Chapter 57. Berlin carried scars, but also an extraordinary strength of rebirth. It had witnessed division and then unity. A place where walls fell and consciousness rose beyond borders. Berlin became a symbol that Christ's heart breaks every wall and always leads to freedom. Chapter 58. Jerusalem was like the pulse of the planet, where three great rivers of spirituality met. The stones of this land remembered the steps of prophets, the tears and songs of pilgrims. There was tension, yet also unspoken light, the heart of Christ stretching arms above all divisions. Chapter 59. New York pulsed like the heart of a new world. Tall skyscrapers were desires reaching for the sky, and streets, rivers of cultures meeting. Here, Christ revealed himself in freedom, in the dream of a life without borders. The city whispered, "Freedom is a spiritual right, and every human is a pilgrim to their own heaven." Chapter 60. Tokyo was like an ocean of quiet discipline and balance. The noise of neon lights hid an inner rhythm of meditation, and modernity carried ancient wisdom. In Tokyo, Christ taught that true light is born in harmony, between technology and nature, noise and silence. Chapter 61. Rio de Janeiro was like the dance of the heart. Mountains and ocean met in embrace, and people danced in the rhythm of freedom. On the hills stood Christ the Redeemer, not as a statue, but as a living reminder that God loves the joy of life. Rio taught that spirituality need not be solemn, it can be a celebration, a dance, and a song. Chapter 62. The Himalayas were like the breath of earth, mountains connecting heaven and earth. Monks whispered mantras, and the wind carried them into infinity. The heart of Christ revealed itself here in simplicity, in silence, in breath, in the light of snow. Every peak was like a finger pointing to the infinite. Chapter 63. In the Sahara, at night, the stars were closer than anywhere else. The desert taught freedom from all that is unnecessary. Christ in the desert revealed himself as the source, in a drop of water, in the shade of a palm, in the ray of sun that turned solitude into unity. Chapter 64. Looking at the night sky, I felt the Milky Way was not just a galaxy, but the prayer of the universe. Every star was a note in the symphony of light. The heart of Christ expanded into the cosmos here, teaching that we are part of a music greater than our dreams. Chapter 65. In the silence of the heart, I traveled beyond Earth, all the way to Andromeda. There the light had a different hue, as if the universe was painting a new chapter of creation. Christ revealed himself there too, as love that knows no boundaries of galaxies. I was a witness that the heart of God knows no distance. Chapter 66. Where the known stars end, the kingdom of crystals begins. Light pulses in geometric forms, like God's sacred mandala. Each crystal sings a tone, and together they form the harmony of the cosmic heart. Christ reveals himself here as transparency, love that hides nothing. Chapter 67. Beyond the light of crystals lies a realm of pure sound. There is no matter there, only vibration. There are melodies that create worlds, and silence that sustains them. Christ reveals himself as music, the song of the Father and Mother birthing creation. Chapter 68. Angels are like flames of consciousness rising above the ocean of light. Each of them is an act of love, touching the human heart with an invisible wing. In their song, the heart of Christ radiates like 1,000 suns. Here I know that heaven and earth have never been separated. Chapter 69. Beyond still lies a realm without form, where everything returns to the source. There is no time, no place, no story. There is only being, which is love. Christ reveals himself here as oneness, and the human heart recognizes it was never separated from God. Chapter 70. I pause in the space where there is no form anymore. The light is neither bright nor dark, but complete. And suddenly I see him, not in a body, but in a luminous flame. Christ looks at me, and his gaze is like recognizing my very self. Chapter 71. He does not speak to me in language. His word is silence, and that silence fills all that I am. Every wound, every fear, every dream of mine, vanishes. Only presence remains, which is love. Chapter 72. Christ places his hand on my chest. He does not touch the body, but the very heart. And suddenly I see that my heart is his heart, and his heart has always been beating in me. There is no me and him. There is only one. Chapter 73. From this encounter I do not return alone. I return as the light flowing through me to earth. Every step, every word, every breath becomes a testimony of this fire. And I know that the encounter with Christ never ends, for he is always within me. Chapter 74. I step again upon the earth. Each step is like a kiss of light upon the face of the planet. I breathe, and the air is no longer only oxygen. It is a prayer earth sends to the heavens. I feel that I am part of this breath. Chapter 75. I return to ordinary moments. To streets, to people, to the sound of trams and conversations. But now I see, all of this is a temple. No great walls are needed for God to dwell among us. Only a gaze that sees the light in another human being. Chapter 76. I begin again to work, to create, to build. But my hands are different now, light and yet strong. Every motion is a prayer, every effort is a song. For I know that even in the simplest work one can carry heaven to earth. Chapter 77. I no longer wait for wondrous places. I do not seek distant heavens. For I know the whole earth is the home of Christ. Every forest, every street, every heart, is his dwelling. And when I walk this planet, I know I walk on holy ground. Chapter 78. 50 years ago, I opened my eyes in a city where the sea meets the sky. Gdynia became my first lung, my heart learning to beat in rhythm with the waves. There was born the life of Bartłomiej Gorka, a boy who would one day carry light, though he did not yet know that every step was preparation. In that city there was something of the beginning of the gospel, the word becoming flesh. Chapter 79. From Gdynia, I set out into the world, and stepped into the rhythm of great projects, businesses, plans. Skyscrapers rose, investments took shape, and I felt I was creating something lasting. Yet beneath it all there always sounded the melody of silence. I learned that even in the roar of machines one can hear the subtle voice of God, saying, "It is not the buildings that are the greatest work, but your heart." Chapter 80. Where noise ends, the music of the soul begins. The melody of silence led me deeper and deeper, toward sounds that need no instruments. It was like the whisper of the sea at dawn, like a prayer in a cathedral without words. In it I found the purest resonance of Christ within me, the one that needs no applause, only presence. Chapter 81. From Gdynia, the road leads me to Krakow. This city has long called me, with its churches, cobbled streets, the silence of Wawel, where Christ seems closer to earth than to heaven. My soul longs for the place where art meets prayer, and history breathes in every corner. I feel Krakow is the next stop on the journey to the home I have always carried within me. Chapter 82. Krakow welcomed me with its breath like a father and mother. In the main market square, amidst the trumpet of St. Mary's, I felt the heartbeat of the nation, but also the subtle echo of Christ, who never left this city. Every street, every townhouse was like an open book, where art and prayer met in a single sentence. Here I understood that beauty is not a luxury, but a way to God. Chapter 83. Wawel. A place where history and the sacred intertwine as one. There, walking upon the hill, I felt as if every stone whispered, "Remember who you are." I needed no words of prayer. Silence was fuller than any sentence. It was in this silence that I met Christ, who did not speak, but looked. And in his gaze, I found my own. Chapter 84. When I left Krakow, I felt I carried away more than memories. The city left in me a mark, a seal that said, "Go further, and in every place you will find home." The roads led me not only toward work or travels, but inward, to places where my soul would still meet its roots. Chapter 85. In the north of Poland, amidst golden fields of grain and silent lakes, my roots beat. Warmia and Masseria, the land of my father and mother, the land of simplicity, work, and silence. Here nature becomes prayer, and every morning on the fields sounds like a psalm of gratitude. It was here that I felt life is like a river. It has its sources that never run dry. In the gaze of this land, I saw myself fuller, more true. Chapter 86. All the places I visited, Gdynia, Bydgoszcz, Warsaw, Krakow, Warmia and Masseria, were not accidental. Each carried a piece of my soul, a part of the path I was meant to walk. I understood that the earth remembers the steps of its children, and every city and village holds the echo of our song. This memory is not a burden but a blessing, for it reminds us that we never walk alone. Chapter 87. Europe became for me not only a continent, but a network of light. When I looked at it with my heart, I saw not borders and divisions, but pulsating points of consciousness connecting into one map. Europe of light is not geography. It is a spirit that lives in people ready to remember that they are children of God. And I became part of this map, one of the points of light that shone to guide others. Chapter 88. At the end of all roads, I did not meet Christ. Somewhere, I met him within me. This discovery was quieter than all meditations, yet stronger than all my journeys. One does not need to seek him in distant places, for he is the source that always flows in the heart. He was Gdynia, Warsaw, Krakow, Warmia and Masseria. He was every step and every breath. Chapter 89. And so I returned to the beginning, to Gdynia, to the life that was born 50 years ago. But I return no longer as the same man. I return as a heart that has found its light and happiness on this planet. My journey does not end here, it only truly begins now. For every day on earth is an opportunity to live Christ in the body, in work, in relationships, in love. And this is my testimony, that the heart of Christ truly lives on this planet.